Well, good morning. It's just about 5 a.m. and we're about to start our journey to Marseille.
After a really awful drive to Gatwick from Wales last night, we managed to get around about 5 hours sleep. That's about it. So we're both feeling a little bit delicate this morning. But let's go, because it's cruise day.
We're off to Gatwick and then off to Marseille. See you soon. Well, we've arrived here on Costa Diadema after a very, very long day. So let's go right back to the start to tell you how we got here.
Hi, if you're new to our channel, we are Tom and Dom Travel and we release a new cruise and travel related video every single week. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't forget to give this video a like.
Now our day started super early, around 4 a.m. when we left the Premier Inn Hotel just outside of Gatwick Airport.
We have booked our flights and our cruise independently. There was no sort of safety in terms of the flights delayed, will the ship wait for us? We were a little bit apprehensive, so the morning did get a little bit stressful. With a fly cruise, if you book your flights independently and your flights are delayed, the ship will not wait for you.
No. But we need not have worried, our flight was on time. We arrived at Gatwick and it was probably one of our easiest airport experiences. We checked in at the self-service check-in for EasyJet and we made our way straight through security.
All in all, from arriving at Gatwick, checking in our baggage and going through security took around about 35 minutes.
And then we headed straight to Wetherspoons where we met our cruise partners, Sisters on the Seas, where we had breakfast and a coffee. Unlimited coffee in Wetherspoons in Gatwick Airport. Little tip for you, if you have got a bit of a wait, sitting in Wetherspoons is the one to go for. Now we only had about an hour in the airport itself, so we didn't think it was going to be worth paying for a premium lounge, and we were right. We literally just had enough time to eat our breakfast and then our boarding was called.
The walk to our boarding gate was a little bit long. We were all the way at the other end of the terminal. We managed to get there on time. Again, there was a short little queue to sort of check in and get on the flight. It was a really pleasant experience, and although we did have to wait a little while to get on board the plane, we'd only paid for hold luggage. We didn't include a small hand luggage item. Now on EasyJet, if you want to bring on a small case into the cabin, you have to pay extra. We just had backpacks and did us okay.
Yeah, so the flight was a short 2-hour flight, and to be honest with you, we just had time on the flight to order ourselves a coffee. By the time we drank that and we're chatting to some of our fellow passengers, we were landing.
Once we landed in Marseille, again, really quick. It's only a small little terminal. We picked up our bags, I think, within about 30 minutes. And then we were outside the main airport terminal trying to decide how on earth we were going to get to the cruise terminal.
Although we did try Uber as an option, that didn't work for us here in Marseille for some reason. We did a short walk to Terminal 1 where there's a taxi rank and we got straight in a taxi, and for 4 of us it cost us €50.
There is also a shuttle bus that does go from the airport into the centre of Marseille. So from the bus terminal where it drops you off to the port, they do provide a free bus. However, the bus from the airport to the bus terminal was €10 each. So for us, in terms of convenience, there was 4 of us. If we'd gotten the bus into town and then the free shuttle bus from town to the port, it was still have cost us €40 in total. It would have just taken a little bit longer.
And bear in mind that we all had luggage, it just made sense for us to get a taxi.
Taxi took around about 25 minutes and again, really good service. Dropped us off right at the terminal that we needed to be at.
Yeah, and because everything had gone so to plan so far, we were there quite a bit earlier than scheduled, so probably about 2 hours. So we did have to hang around in the terminal itself for a little while, but that was our fault, nothing to do with Costa. The reason why we had to hang about is because the ship wasn't arriving in Marseille until 1 p.m, so there was no option to get on the ship early.
Costa had allocated us a boarding time of 2 p.m, and as Tom said, we arrived at the terminal at around about 5 to 12. Even though the ship hadn't even arrived yet, when we got to the terminal, we could still check in and drop our bags off, and then we headed upstairs to the waiting area.
Now this is something that some of the ships don't allow in the UK. There is no way, particularly P&O, would let you into the terminal area and then make you stand outside and queue, which literally blows our mind when there's so many seats inside. None of that with Costa. You were straight in the terminal, you were free to sit down and just wait. They gave you a numbered card, so you still had priority depending on what time you arrived. Once they were ready to board, they called out your number and you were free to go to the check-in desk. The wait in the terminal was quite comfortable. We hung around by the windows of the terminal because we wanted to see Costa Diadema arrive into Marseille.
Once they did open check-in, we were number 3 because obviously there were quite a few people before us as well. And again, really quick process. They checked our passports, checked our documents. We did encounter a little bit of, I don't suppose difficulty, but a little bit of apprehension on the part of the Costa staff because I've got a new post-Brexit passport which is black, and it seemed to confuse them a little bit.
Because mine is still the old style burgundy passport, they were a bit unsure how we could both be British but have 2 different colour passports. Obviously there's not a huge number of British people boarding in Marseille, so there's something they hadn't seen before.
Once our documents were checked, passports, we then proceeded to pick up our cruise card and then go through security and get straight on to Diadema.
The strange thing about Diadema is that you board on deck 0. Yes, you heard me right, there is a deck 0 here on Diadema. We presume the crew cabins are on minus numbers because the lowest deck you can get on here is deck 0. That's the boarding deck and the deck with the medical centre. From there we headed up a few decks and into the main part of the ship itself. What was confusing though is that we nearly joined the queue to disembark because there was a queue when we arrived on the ship for something, so we joined that queue, and it wasn't until we turned the corner that we realised, oh, these people are getting off.
It's quite interesting with this Costa cruise, similar to MSC, that pretty much at every port that we stop off there are people disembarking and embarking. It's a little bit confusing because you see one exit, one entry, and you've got to try and assess whether or not that's for you or for people that are actually leaving or boarding the ship.
Okay, so what we did first, what would you do? We grabbed ourselves a drink. Yeah, we found the first bar. We had no idea what the name of the bar was, but we sat in there because this ship already feels huge. So we sat down, had ourselves a drink and got our bearings.
We've purchased the My Drinks package, which is Costa's standard drinks package that includes unlimited alcoholic drinks, a selection of coffees and a selection of wines as well.
Also with Costa you are entitled to 1 small bottle of water per person per day. Yep, just 1 bottle of water. The rest of water is available per glass from any bar.
If you do upgrade to their Drinks Plus, you can then have unlimited bottles of water.
It's just a strange quirk Costa does.
We were told that our rooms wouldn't be ready and just wait for an announcement over the tannoy system to let us know that we can go to our cabins and have a look.
But actually, I had a notification on our app first. So on the My Costa app, which you can download before you board. But once you're on board, you can enter your cruise card number and that allows you to have access to further things on the app.
So in terms of the My Costa app and the My Costa website, it's been a little bit of a struggle because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it crashes, and it just can get really confusing. Now, in terms of me and the app that I've got on my phone, which is exactly the same phone and app that Tom has, I can log in with my Costa account. I can access everything while I'm connected to the Wi-Fi on board Diadema. Tom, unfortunately, has to put in his cruise booking number or cruise card number. It hasn't been consistent all the way through since we've been planning this cruise, adding our documentation to the My Costa webpage. It's not the greatest of online or app experience.
No, but the information that is on the app once it's available is really good.
The Costa app has got a really great little messaging feature where you can send messages to other passengers that are on your cruise.
That's how we've been able to keep in contact with Sisters on the Seas, and actually you can keep in contact with anybody on the ship. Before we went to our cabin, even though it was ready, we decided to go and grab something to eat, so we headed up to the buffet for lunch.
The buffet is quite a strange experience. It's not the same sort of decor and design throughout. There are different sections and they've got a very, very different feel.
We chose to sit at the aft of the buffet, which was a good choice because that does seem to be the quieter area. The buffet stretches all the way from the aft of the ship right to the mid part of the ship where the indoor pool is, and the buffet actually continues right around through into the indoor pool area. But the selection in the buffet does appear to be quite small, especially on our first lunch, where it's repeated several times as you move around the buffet, just the same items again and again.
As it was an embarkation day, it was incredibly busy in there, and I've got to say it was quite a frustrating experience because a lot of passengers weren't queuing, there was a lot of pushing in. The order and sort of the flow of the buffet, we just couldn't work it out.
No.
So in terms of trying to get something that we wanted, it was a little bit chaotic.
For lunch, I first of all went for a leek and potato soup. When I tried it, actually, it was really tasty, so I did enjoy it.
And I went for a couple of pasta dishes with a little bit of bread. So the first pasta dish I had, as we're on Costa, was a tomato and vegetable pasta, and it was delicious. I thoroughly enjoyed it. That much, I even went up and got seconds. The second pasta dish from their pasta station that they have here in the buffet was a mushroom, pea and ham pasta, and it was very, very tasty, just not as nice as the tomato and vegetable.
Now, what they do have is a wide variety of fish dishes and seafood dishes. So if you're a seafood lover, brilliant, there is lots of choice for you. Included in today's lunch was mussels. Fresh mussels cooked to order, which was great. However, neither me or Dom eat seafood, so bit of a problem for us. So if you love seafood, loads of choice. If you don't, minimum choice. So I went on the hunt for another option. That's where I went out into that indoor pool area, and I discovered that they do burger and fries there. So I grabbed myself a burger and fries and took it back to our table, to the delight of everyone else, because I think everyone else wanted one then.
Prior to boarding, we heard that you have to pay an additional charge for burger and chips from the poolside grill. Now this is true, but only after a certain time during the evening. During the day you can have as many burgers and chips as you like, absolutely free.
Yes, but the option is burger and chips. There is no variation on that. It is just a burger and chips. After our lunch, we then did head to our cabin, and we were pleased because before we got on board, we did notice that we had been upgraded. This is our first ever aft cabin, so we are super pleased to be given a balcony cabin, and for it to be located at the aft is absolutely outstanding. Our first aft cabin. Ooh.
Very, very exciting. While we were in the room filming, our luggage arrived, which was quite handy, and then we quickly hurried to our muster station. Now it's quite unique here on Costa because you have to watch the online muster drill, which you can do via your stateroom TV or through the My Costa app. But then between a certain time, ours was between 4 and 5:15, you have to physically take your life jacket with you down to your muster station.
We took our life jacket down to the muster station. He checked that we had our life jacket, we were checked off, and we headed back to our cabin. Once we dropped our life jacket off, we headed back down to the bar to grab a quick drink. We did notice that some people were doing the muster drill in groups. There was a big gathering in the theatre where everyone was watching the muster drill in person wearing their life jackets. There's two options, it appears, that you could do it yourself or do it in a big group in the theatre.
After having a quick drink with Sisters on the Seas, we headed back to our cabin to get ready for the evening.
So tonight was extravagant night. It appears that there is going to be a theme night every single night of this cruise. We'll keep you updated as the themes come through to us. So we got ourselves changed very rapidly and headed down to our restaurant for dinner.
This is where it gets a little bit interesting because prior to boarding you can select via the My Costa website a dining room and a time, whether that's early or late sit-in. Now because we are on Costa, the early sit-in is around about 7 o'clock and the late sit-in is around about 9. So we'd selected the Florentine restaurant, which is one of the main dining rooms split over 2 floors, and an early sit-in. When we boarded Costa, we found out we'd been allocated an early sit-in, which is absolutely fantastic, but they'd also allocated us the elite club dining room.
Now, we aren't sure whether that's linked to our cabin upgrade or whether that's linked to something else, but we haven't received any information from Costa themselves as to why that's happened, but we wanted to be honest with you and tell you that it has. So we will be doing our dinner reviews from the elite club dining room.
What we can see, the menu is the same as all the other main dining rooms on board. However, there are a number of additional dishes for each of the courses. The Elite Club dining room is a relatively small venue and there wasn't actually a lot of people in there.
No, very quiet. So that meant the service was exceptional.
Top notch.
We were greeted, shown to our table. We have a lovely table by the window, although the view is particularly limited, but that is something we'll talk about perhaps in another vlog.
So we were quite surprised actually at just how intimate this venue was. We sat down, we were given an incredible bread basket. And
yes.
I do love bread. Don't ask me why. On a cruise ship, I always go for the bread and sort of compare it to other cruise lines. And honestly, it is incredible. The amount of choice and selection.
Now on Costa, the menu is a little bit different. It is split into about 4 sections and you can choose something from each of those 4. So it starts off with the starter. And for my starter, I went for the minestrone soup. Now this minestrone soup is a little bit different to normal because it's not that little orangey red colour that minestrone soup normally is, but it was filled with vegetables and the smell and the taste were divine. So spot on, good start.
And I opted for the turkey that came with some cream cheese and some sun-dried tomatoes as well as some olives, and it was delicious. It came out and it just looked like a large turkey slice. However, it was phenomenal and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Then onto our second course, I had the cheesy cannelloni. So it was cheese filled cannelloni with more cheese on top, and yeah, it was cheesy. It was very nice though, very tasty.
And I went for the vegetable lasagna, and again it was delicious. Both myself and Tom really enjoy pasta, so I think we're going to enjoy this cruise.
Then onto the main course, and I opted for veal. It was an absolutely huge piece of breaded veal, basically filled the plate, but it was super tasty.
For my main, I went for the chicken with stuffed turkey. A little bit different, but it was delicious. The only thing I didn't like on the plate was the cream spinach, but I did eat everything else and thoroughly enjoyed it.
And then finally onto dessert. My dessert was a creamy white chocolate mousse. Oh, it was so tasty. I could have had 2 portions. It was so good.
And I went for the Swiss chocolate cake and it was very good. A little bit dry, however it came with a little bit of sauce that was delicious.
So both of our meals were washed down with a bottle of red wine that we shared between us. Thank you to our waiter for giving us such a nice bottle of wine, because we didn't know which one to choose, so he chose it for us, so thank you very much for that.
And again, we are on the My Drinks package, and although we did drink a whole bottle of wine during dinner,
it is by the glass, technically.
Yes. Yeah. It was included in our drinks package. In terms of the service, the venue, absolutely outstanding, and we feel incredibly fortunate. As we came out of dinner, we took a little stroll along the promenade here on Diadema, and we ended up in the Sunset Bar where we met Sisters on the Seas for a little bit of a drink, and this time we decided to go for an Aperol Spritz. It was a little bit cold in the Sunset Bar, so we quickly finished our Aperol Spritz and we headed back into the ship.
And the first thing we came across was the ABBA Mania party that was happening in the atrium. So straight away in the evening, straight from the off, the ship was party, and it never ended there, did it, for the rest of our night?
No, it was very busy, very well attended. The entertainment team on board were giving it 110%, and the passengers were loving it. It was brilliant just to stand there on the stairs of the main atrium and just watch all the party going on. After watching ABBA Mania in the main atrium, we headed towards the main theatre for tonight's show.
Tonight's show was by solo performer Christini Nistor. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
And he was performing Sounds of Music, which was quite interesting.
Yes, not to be confused by the Julie Andrews musical. There were no nuns in this performance.
Christy did a selection of songs both in English, Italian, Spanish, German.
He kind of worked his way through the nationalities, didn't he? Which was, it blows our mind from being on just English speaking ship to a multi-language ship. But he did have an affinity for Robbie Williams because he performed 3 Robbie Williams tracks.
The theatre was full, everybody enjoyed it. He's incredibly talented, he can sing.
Quite an unusual theatre where the bottom level of the theatre is pretty much flat. The top 2 levels of the theatre are really steep.
This theatre is quite unusual because it actually goes over 3 decks.
We then headed back to the bar that we started off first of all this evening, and the bar was pretty much transformed. There was a big party going on where everybody was dancing. There's a huge contingent of Zumba dancers on board this ship, and they all started dancing in sequence, so it felt quite strange because everybody was like moving together.
And we were asking ourselves, how do they know how to do that?
I know, everybody knew the same dance. The music came on and everyone was doing the same dance. Amazing though, really interesting to watch while we sat there and sipped some drinks. What they did have in this bar actually is some free nuts.
So they do offer all passengers in the bar a glass actually of free peanuts.
So we ordered our standard drinks. I just asked the waiter, bring me a cocktail, your choice, and he did. So I can't tell you what it was, but something planter it was, so I'll find out from him. I'll ask him tonight. But it was interesting, it was really nice. And Sisters on the Seas then asked for a Bacardi Breezer, and the waiter said, shall we have 4 Bacardi Breezers? So yeah, we ended up with 1 each. Bacardi Breezers, like off the 90s. Amazing.
Very, very retro.
Yeah, so we had pineapple Bacardi Breezers. After the Bacardi Breezers, we headed right to the after the ship where the extravagant party was taking place.
This was a little bit of a disco hosted by the entertainment team. The venue is just off the Sunset Bar at the after the ship. It was a little bit late. It started at 11:15, and as we'd been up so early all day, we were all 4 of us incredibly tired. So we managed 1 more drink in the bar, and then it was time for us to head to bed.
Yeah, so the music they were playing was quite dancey music, and we would have loved to have danced to, but we were absolutely shattered. And just to point out that actually 11:15 to 12:15 this party goes on to, and then the nightclub starts. So Costa is a late night ship.
We just couldn't face it last night.
No way were we going to the nightclub last night. So it was straight back to the cabin, but first, of course, this is Dom, so we couldn't go straight back to the cabin like anybody else would do. We had to go and find some food. Now, Costa does not offer a late night buffet, but what they do is this late night burger venue up in the indoor pool area.
So the venue, we could get free burgers and fries at lunch. During the evening turns into a paid for venue. So if you want a late night snack, you have to pay for them, unfortunately. So we did go up there and I did order a burger and chips. It was a double cheeseburger, fantastic, far superior to the burger we had at lunchtime, and some chips. And pretty much it came to €5.50. €3.50 for the burger and €2 for the chips. And these were added on to our onboard account.
Yeah, so not too bad really, but this is not something we should be doing every night.
So we took our burger and chips back to the room, sat on the balcony, and I quite happily munched on them, and then it was straight to sleep because tomorrow we are in another new port. We're in Costa's home port of
Savona.
So neither of us have been here before. We're quite excited to get off and just have a look around. We haven't got anything booked, but I'm sure it'll be an enjoyable day.
Yes, so join us tomorrow to see how we get on in our first port of call of Savona.
Thanks for watching our embarkation of Costa Diadema. If you've got any comments or questions, just pop them in the box below and we'll get back to you. Also, if you'd like to support us in making more content, we're now available on Patreon.
And please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also hit that bell notification button to never miss a video from us. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks for watching. We've got lots more content available on our YouTube channel, so press that subscribe button. If you're interested in receiving daily updates, we're available on most social media platforms. Just search for Tom and Dom Travel.